In this video, I'm going to show you how some of the most highest performing boutique lenders are using cold email and a couple other strategies the right way to fill their pipeline with serious borrowers without having to look like amateurs or hurt their brand with endless mass spam. Okay? Now, what we've seen is that the average cost of idle capital across so many different boutique lending firms that are loaning out between 5 to 50 million annually, the cost of idle capital for them is often between 4 to 6 figures per month. And it's not because there's no demand. It's because their borrower acquisition channels and systems are broken. Okay. And so what we've seen is that most lenders are ignoring cold email, and we've seen that it's costing them millions of dollars. Okay. And so most private lenders that we talk to, they either dismiss cold email outright or they assume that it's just all spammy list blasting from these super these Gmail accounts with these random domain names, and they assume it's all spam. And honestly, the perception is somewhat fair because a lot of it is spam. But when you use cold email properly, with intelligent targeting, with segmented messaging, with actual risk mitigated borrower hooks that speak to the language of your ideal borrower audience segments. When you can do that in your cold outreach, well, it becomes one of the most scalable ways to keep your capital deployed year round. And so the issue isn't outreach, it's all about how you're going about outreach. Okay? And the fact is that if your capital is sitting idle for 30 days, 60 days, even if you're only managing, let's say, $10 million, you're a smaller cap private lending firm, a boutique firm, maybe even a solo lender. Well, if that $10 million is sitting idle for any real length of time, you can miss out on $25,000 to $50,000 in missed yield. And again, like if you're doing the traditional growth channels, borrower acquisition channels, things like brokers, things like SEO, things like relying on word of mouth. Well, none of those channels are fast enough or consistent enough to guarantee borrower flow at maximal velocity. Okay. And so here is what we've seen. Cold email works as long as it's not cold garbage. Now, what do I mean? Well, most lenders, they tend to think that cold email just means blasting out generic emails like, "Hey, do you need funding?" to strangers and getting no responses. And if that's how you're approaching cold email, yes, of course, you're going to be stuck at ground zero. It's not going to produce results. But real borrower acquisition through cold email, it's not just all about volume. Now, of course, volume does matter. If you are, like all else being equal, if you're sending out 5,000 emails a month versus 50 emails a month, well, if you're sending 5,000, you're going to get more results. But in most cases, all else isn't equal, which is where precision packaging comes into the picture. What do I mean? Well, when we can structure your messaging around borrower intent, let me get more specific here. So let's say that you have a couple different market segments that you tend to focus on most often in your when you're lending to borrowers. Maybe one group would be new fix and flip investors, first time fix and flippers. Well, for that audience segment, you may want to focus your messaging more around, hey, we can help you through this process and we make it very seamless and we educate you through the process and we really hold your hand. That could be your approach when it comes to more new investors. But on the other hand, if you are focusing on commercial developers, for example, who are going to be holding property for 12 to 36 months and who need a little bit more flexibility because their deals are a little bit more back and forth, Well, the fact of the matter is that if you want to appeal to their pain points most effectively, you have to focus your messaging, your email outreach, and your social media content, and your YouTube content, and your website content. You have to focus those things around the specific pain points of that audience segment. So you need to appeal to the need for these commercial developers to have a flexible a flexible lending source that they can rely on. Okay? And so when you can show up with relevancy and the right timing and specificity, that is when cold outreach and content stops feeling cold. And that's when it turns into strategic deal flow. Okay? And so the key to understand here is that mass outreach isn't the problem. I've talked to so many different private lending firms, between like starting from the solo level up to the boutique level up to the institutional level, and they all have this tainted perspective towards cold email and towards cold outreach in general, and they believe that it's just, oh, you're just another mass mailer. If I send out a bunch of emails, it's going to make my company look bad. It's going to taint our brand. It's going to make us look desperate. And again, I understand, because most people, most firms, most of these lead gen agencies out there, they do it in a very spammy, unprofessional way. So I do understand. But you can send 50,000 targeted emails a month and still look professional. It's not that scale hurts your brand. No, not at all. It's sloppiness. Okay? When every message sounds like it was written for dear ambiguous real estate person with no definitive demographic traits, that undermines trust in your brand. That undermines the it undermines the level of professionalism that people feel when they consider your brand. Certainly. But when a campaign references the borrower's market, it references their lending persona, it references even their past projects, at that point, you're not annoying people, you are earning attention. Because when you can insert such hyper relevancy and specificity into your messaging and into your content and into your outreach, well, people, there's the reciprocity bias that exists in all humans. And when we feel like someone has put so much effort into something, we typically want to respond and reward that in some type of way, even if that just means with a couple seconds of our attention. Okay? So if you're just blasting out emails, hey, random real estate, we can lend you this, of course they're going to mark you as spam and ignore you. But again, if you can tap into their specific traits and their specific pains and their specific history, that is when you stand out. Okay? And so what smart lenders are realizing now is that the real damage to their brand, it's not outreach. It's idle capital and dependence on brokers for scraps, and dependence on hoping for word of mouth and hoping for repeat borrowers to come back. That is what kills the brand. Okay? So like what so many private lenders need to realize, excuse me, is that idle capital is the biggest risk here. It's okay. It's not like looking. Any professional is not going to feel bad about you being direct with your offer. And so every lender says that they want to maximize yield, but when it comes time to actually go to the market and attract more borrowers, most of them go silent. Or at most, they may do some content on YouTube, a couple of posts a year. They may do some Instagram posts here and there. They may, ask for some connections to to toot their horn on LinkedIn, but they stay away from outreach. And it's because for the typical private lender, outreach feels beneath them. They feel it's too aggressive or it's too salesy. Maybe it's even too risky. But the truth is that, again, capital that is sitting still is costing you already. If you're at, let's say, 60% deployment, your real yield may on paper seem to be 11%, but if we adjust for the 40% of your capital that is just sitting there idle, well, you're actually closer to 6.7% annualized yield, okay? Which is worse than the stock market. And meanwhile, your borrower competitor down the street, he's stacking up deals because he actually shows up. What do I mean by shows up? Well, people can actually find him. He's visible. He's doing outreach. He's doing content. If you're not visible, you are completely replaceable. Okay? This is the issue. Outreach is not beneath you. It's leverage in the 21st century in this AI age. Okay? And so the truth is that there is no lack of borrowers in need of capital. There isn't. There never has been. There never will be. People need capital. They just don't know you exist. They haven't been exposed to you. Okay? And so right now there are flippers, there are burr buyers, there are small commercial developers who are refreshing their inboxes right now, hoping that someone who has the right rates and the right speed and the right level of professionalism will be there. But again, most lenders are just kind of sitting by passively, relying on brokers, websites, inbound, word of mouth. And again, these are all powerful sources, but they aren't the end all be all, especially as technology continues to evolve and the lending marketplace becomes more and more competitive. Okay? So the best funds, they're shifting to outbound. Now, it's not all strictly outbound, but they're at least integrating that into their approach. Because when you can send the right message to the right person at the right time, you're going to stand out and you're going to win. And you don't need to pitch hard. It is literally only about making yourself visible and doing it with clarity and credibility. Okay? And it shifts everything. Most lenders are relying entirely on passive inbound. In other words, it's just hope marketing, hope growth strategy. Okay? So, how do you begin to fix this? Well, it's what I've been kind of hinting at throughout this entire video. It's through systemized outreach. Systemized outreach is yield velocity. These are the same thing, okay? And so what you need to switch your focus to is, again, not just on passive inbound. It's to engineering capital velocity. How? Well, it's possible to achieve 90% plus capital deployment by making your borrower acquisition systems predictable. It's not about just spamming outreach. It's about making sure that you can show up in the right channels at the right times when people are in need. Okay? And how you can do that is through layered outreach. So one form of that would be sending out mass outreach. So that could be, for example, that could be through email. You could build a list of anywhere between 5,000 to 50,000 people who are in your specific audience segments. So again, that could be commercial developers, that could be new fix and flip investors, that could be more experienced fix and flip investors rather. Maybe you even do some equipment financing in some cases. It all depends on your specific demographic. But again, the mass outreach portion of that would be that group, building a semi-personalized list and then, uh, building a fairly large list of between 5 to 50,000 prospects, and then adding in small personalization variables to make it feel a little bit more specific to them. That would be piece one of the puzzle. Now, the second piece would be medium volume outreach. So these would be slightly lower volume. So this would be between 1,000 to 5,000 messages going out a month, for example. And these would be companies that are a little bit higher on the totem pole. So companies that are a bit more ideal for your specific for your specific offering, for your specific service offerings, for your specific loans. So after identifying that audience, well, at that point you would build slightly more custom messaging, and you can do this through a tool like Clay, for example. Clay is a very powerful tool for adding audience enrichment that allows you to build a bit more hyper personalized messaging while you're still reaching out to companies or individuals at scale. Okay. Excuse me. And then the last bit of this is the Dream 100 layer. And so, what that consists of is building an ultra personalized, ultra high value list of your dream clients and dream borrowers who are the best companies that you would want to work with. And what this starts with is sitting down for a little bit of time and, grabbing the notebook, grabbing the pen, and getting very clear on exactly who your best clients have been in the past. How old were they? What were their traits? What specific products were they? What specific product types were they working on? And when you can have clarity on exactly who your best clients were in the past, well, that knowledge will allow you to begin to replicate that in the future and build an ultra specific list of exactly who you want to work with in the moving forward. And so from there, the idea with Dream 100 is to build that list and then to begin reaching out to these people on a consistent, ongoing basis every day. And not just spamming them. Again, it's actually providing value at every single touch point, because this is what separates the mass outreach spammers from the institutional hard money lenders who are able to scale to extreme levels. Okay? It's not that they have just better rates. It's not that they have a better reputation. Those things matter, sure. But you need the right systems to be the foundation for your growth. And outreach is that system. Okay? So when we put this all together, the outcome is very simple. If your capital isn't fully deployed right now, or if you're relying too much on brokers or word of mouth or inbound and just hoping to keep things moving, it might be time to tighten the system. Okay? So this is what we specifically specialize in, and we're, I hate to toot our own horn, but we're damn good at it. And so we offer a no pressure call where we will dive deep into your exact borrower acquisition process, and we'll help you to identify what your current gaps might be. And I'll tell you honestly, like, exactly what you are doing right, where we see room for growth. And again, all of this is based on us having sent millions of outbound messages and having booked countless calls for our clients. Okay? So again, there's no pitch. It's just a deep dive into what you're currently doing right, where there's still some meat on the bone for you to improve upon, and just a real look at what's actually possible. Okay? So if you would like that, excuse me, if you would like us to embark on that deep dive assessment into your current borrower acquisition systems and how you can improve upon them, then we offer that call down below this video for completely free. So the link is there, and feel free to book a call. But if not, we'll see you in the next video, and I appreciate your time, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.